walking?
How many of you saw her walk into the hall?
What was the first thing that came into your mind?
The lady in pink, yes, with the glasses down. What was the first thing that came to your mind? Please stand up. You didn't see her coming. You saw her. What was the first thing that came to your mind? Did you hear that?
Yes, so she thought she just came like we were together.
Okay.
Alright. Who else wants to share what came to their mind? One more person.
What came to your mind? Yes.
I just thought she the one taking us.
Okay.
As a surprise.
You were surprised?
Yes.
I like that actually.
Somebody else.
While I'm waiting for my slides, one more person.
Yes.
When I saw you here, I knew that the way you were taking process, in my mind I was like, wow,
Fantastic. So, before I go on, while they're working on my slides, how many of us have heard of cerebral palsy before today? There are some people that can only raise their hand because they know. Okay. I'm seeing quite a good number of hands. How many of us have heard about cerebral palsy before today? Okay, I'm seeing a few hands. So I'm seeing that a good number of us have never heard of cerebral palsy. Now let me ask another question. How many of us have actually seen somebody who walks like me? Aha! Many more people have seen people who walk like me. Alright. So, how many of us are school owners? School owners. School owners. I know. How many of us are head teachers? Yes, head teachers. Key stage head. HMs. Aha. Alright. Heads of schools. Aha. See that. I can see that. I can see my people. Classroom teachers. And everywhere. Good. Alright, so I have a quick question. So, you are all going to assume now, this question I'm about to ask, you are going to assume that you were the head of school. So you are the one that is making the admission decision. You are the one deciding whether we are admitting the child, what class we are placing the child in, all those questions. Right, if I had come into your school, actually if I had come into your school, I wasn't looking this good back then. So the child that showed up, and the child was not able to stand, the child was not able to write, they weren't able to use their hands at all, and the child was also not able to speak. Remember when we started from, you are the one making the admission decision. Can three people tell me what their answer would be if the parent said, I want to enroll my child? Sir? This is not where it's supposed to belong. It's supposed to be taken to a special school. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. Okay. So fantastic. Somebody said, I would say the child does not deserve to be here. They should send the child to a special school. Then I had her say, I will admit the child. I'm going to take one tiebreaker. So because I'm at 1-1 now. There are now 2 opinions in the room. So I need one more tiebreaker. Who wants to share their thoughts? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. So can we define, because I have heard, you see the thing? You see this line she just used is the cop-out line of all schools. We don't have the facility to handle it. We don't have the capacity to handle it. It's your cop-out line. You all use it. What do you mean by facility and capacity? Explain.
I said, what I mean by that is we need people who are experienced, yes, who really know what to do. Because I follow some cerebral palsy organizations online, and I see a lot of things they do for those children, which everyone, not even everyone, which majority of people do not even have an idea of. So those are special things they do. I see what they do for them, their speech, for their walking, and the rest of it. That's
those
why
things educational. Those things you just mentioned, are they educational?
No.
So how is it your business? So how is it your business? Because that's the thing. I hear you say things like, I don't have the facility. How is speech therapy your business, man? Are you a speech therapist? It is not your business. The parents that brought the child to you did not bring the child to you for speech therapy. They brought the child to you for education. So do you have the facility as an educator? That's the question you need to answer. And you all sat there saying, we don't have the facility. So every time I hear that, I'm asking yourself, so are you guys teachers? No, that's the simple question that's left. Because if you're telling me I don't have the facility, but you call yourself a school, then I have to ask in my mind, because again, I don't want to insult inside your school because it will not be nice. So, I will not be asking myself in my mind, are these people teachers? Because I showed up with a child, I asked for education, you are telling me I don't have the facility to provide education, but you call yourself a school. At that point, I'm like, okay. I hear it. So you all heard my profile, but I'll repeat it. I have a master's degree in international law. I'm a published author of 7 books. It's not boasting, it's what it is. Actually, this room is a little tough for me because I have a classmate in the room. And so she's looking at all of you and shaking her head. Because she realizes that when we went to a Lagos State public school, we weren't talking about facilities. Most of your private schools have more facilities than Lagos State public schools. So I'm not talking about Lagos State public school of today. I'm talking Lagos State public school of 2002. If I could go to a Lagos State public school in 2002 and graduate, how do you tell me in 2023 that you do not have the facility? What exactly does that mean? All I hear when I hear that is clear-cut discrimination. You have simply looked at the child. You have said, this child is going to be stressed. I don't want stress. They should take the child away. That's all you said. Because it has nothing to do with facility. I can tell you for free. Now, how many of you have 90 pupils in your class? I can tell you for free that my class, from SS 1 to 3, and unfortunately I can't even lie, because people that can break my lie are sitting here. There were 92 people. in my class and we had one teacher. So, explain to me how you don't have facilities. I have just one job here today. Really, if I go into my slides, great. If I don't, that's fine. It's for all of us to rethink how we see children. Because every child is a child. And the truth is, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today if the first school my parents took me to had said, we don't have the facility, take her away. Back then, nobody was even talking about them. You know, all of these fancy things we talk about today. I was listening to Mr. Benjamin, he was talking about differentiated instruction. You know, he was talking about differentiation. You know, who was talking about that when it started out to this? Whose business was differentiating anything? If you like, learn it. If you like, don't learn it. However, the teacher found a way to teach a child who couldn't use her hands, who couldn't walk, and who wouldn't even talk in class. The teacher found a way to teach that child, and I'm standing in front of you today, and I'm speaking to educators. So, I said that to say, educators, you have a lot of power. And I plead with you to use it wisely. Because sometimes, all it takes is one educator that says yes. That's all. Because you know what? Society is going to already tell parents your child is not good for anything. So by the time that parent shows up in front of you, they have braved multiple odds to even have the courage to come and stand in front of you and say, good morning, ma. I want to make inquiries about admission. They have actually first of all braved 1,000 odds to get in front of you. So when you say to them, we don't have the facility, what you have done is to solidify the belief that they were already given, that their children don't have value. And if you're an educator here, you know every child has value. That's why you're in this profession. It's because you know every child has value. So don't waste that opportunity. There's so much knowledge out there today that we cannot use the lack of knowledge as an excuse not to at least try. Nobody's saying you're going to be perfect. I mean, how many of you, when you first started teaching, were perfect teachers? Nobody started out perfect. You all got better as you thought, right? You learned more strategies. I'm sure by the time you were teaching for 5 years, you probably wanted to go and look for the children you taught in your first year of teaching to say, I did not try for you. Let me teach you again. Because that's how it is. We all get better by doing. So, to teach a child with cerebral palsy in your classroom, you are going to get better by doing, but first you have to be willing to try. Every single time you turn the child away, what you have turned away is a growth opportunity. It's a growth opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn something new. And unfortunately, it's also a growth opportunity for the children in your classroom. To learn about differences, to learn how to accommodate others, to learn how to support others, and to learn actually differently too. Because in your bid to teach that child that is different in your classroom, you will improve learning outcomes for all children. Alright, let's run into my slides. Alright. Okay, so I started the Let Cerebral Palsy Kids Learn Foundation in 2017. When I realized that all the educators were saying to parents, actually they came to report to me, that when we take our children to schools, because I started saying to them, your children should go to school. Because, you know, at that time, I had been part of an event that went a little viral. And so parents were wondering, how do you have cerebral palsy and have a master's degree? I was like, how is it hard? Take your child to school now. It's not the same thing. It's a process now. You go to primary school, you go to secondary school, you go to university, you go to branch, get a master. So parents started saying to me, every time I take my child to school, the school will say, we can't take your child. we don't have the facility. And I thought parents were lying because I didn't think that any educator would do that. Then I started to research and I found out that it was true. So I realized that we needed to fix that problem, and that's why this organization exists. So a lot of our work is training teachers, because I realized that there's a knowledge gap for classroom teachers, and I will not blame you if I don't teach. So I spend a lot of time training teachers, and then of course we provide referral to schools, we provide referral to parents. When parents come to us, if you're a partner school that has attended our training and has experience working with our kids, gladly we'll refer you. That's your money, it's not my business. Charge your fees, the parents pay you, it's not my business. And then of course we support parents to find the right school for their children, because you and I know that as parents are different, so is teaching and learning in every school. So parents have to find the schools that fit their lifestyle. Alright, next one.
I will recount. Please, I'll recount for you.
Next time.
I'll recount, please.
No fun.
I'll recount.
Alright, so I'm going to try to run through
Where she's standing, she comes the other way. Move forward a bit. Better.
I just need to find somewhere where that feedback will not kill me. Alright, so I'm going to try to run through all of these things. So what is cerebral palsy? If you grew up in Nigeria, you probably heard terms like, very many derogatory terms. You heard that they were imbeciles, you heard that they were retarded, and all the other very funny names we like to call children that look a little different. Cerebral palsy is the umbrella term for a group of disorders that affects a child's ability to move. It is caused by damage to the muscle control center of the developing brain. Sometime during pregnancy, delivery, or within the first 3 years of life. So, let's first disabuse your mind that these children are possessed by demons. And of course, I've heard it now. I've heard that they are demon possessed and they need deliverance. So let's be clear, there is no demon possession. It is a medical condition. Alright? Funny enough, it is the most common childhood disability that affects over 17 million people in the world. So it is not rare. There's a large group of people affected by the condition. And if we refuse to educate all those people, what is our plan? Funny enough, cerebral palsy is classified as a physical disability and not a learning disability. Neither is it an intellectual disability. My classmates can tell you that. The only thing that is affected is the child's ability to use their muscles. They are cognitively competent. They have the ability and willingness to learn, but their muscles are impaired. So are we going to say that because my muscles don't work well now, I don't deserve school? And then we had all these teachers that will say you must rule margin before you start writing. You people are your wahala. Teachers, I cannot rule a straight line to save my life. Not because I'm not smart. Not because I can't learn the same thing my classmates are learning. So imagine that the teacher said, oh, she cannot rule a straight line, so maybe she should not be here. And it's interesting because the ability to rule a straight line affects everything. From how you do WAEC graph. If you remember, straight line graph is a compulsory question in WAEC bar. However, my school could have said, oh, that's a problem, she shouldn't take WAEC. But what did they do? The school asked for an accommodation. They said, we have a student, we have a number of students, I wasn't the only one, with various disabilities in our school. This one in particular, I'm not drawing a straight line to Stefan. And she needs to do this straight line graph. It's a compulsory question. So therefore, we will need you to allow somebody help her join the graph. Because to be honest, what you are marking, math teachers will say this, is the plotting, is not the joining. However, you could have thrown me out of school for my inability to join. Okay. So there are various types of cerebral palsy. So before you think that the only way cerebral palsy presents is the way I look, trust me, mine is the fun one. There are different types. Let's move to the next slide. So spastic cerebral palsy, you will notice that the child has very stiff muscles. Early years teachers, now you didn't notice this in the past. Early years, they are the ones that will first see it. You will notice that the child's muscles are stiff. Their elbows, their ankles are always bent, very funny. They are not straight, just bending. Then you will notice that most of the time they can't sit. They are struggling to sit independently. And it's a very common type. It affects 70% of all children. And this is why we get thrown out of school. Because when we show up, and we are stiff everywhere, we are bending in very funny ways. They just say, this one cannot be in school. And we get thrown out. The next slide. The next slide. So in your classroom, the first thing you will notice, early years again, no. When you are working with manipulatives, they cannot grip anything. You will be working on pincer grip forever. They will not grip anything. When it's time to stand, wahala, not going to happen. They can't stand. Then early years again, I'm back to you people. We will do circle time. We will not finish circle time. You say we should move from circle time to our seat. That's the biggest punishment on the face of this earth for them. And a lot of the times, they also have slurred speech. And that's where a lot of you lose it. Once a child is not able to talk clearly, we assume that the person is stupid. The reason you're listening to me is because my speech is not affected. I know Nigerians. The only reason you're giving me attention is because my speech is clear. If my speech was impaired, nobody would want to listen. But that doesn't mean that the child is stupid. It just means that the muscles of their mouth is not coordinated. Next. For some kids, they are not even going to be stiff. They are just going to be jerky. So they'll be walking as if they are drunk. So those ones, they can walk. But the walking is never straight. They'll be walking as if they are like, they are weaving. It's as if they are about to fall every minute. Then, if you now want to cause trouble, tell them to jump gutter. Wahala. Is it that they enter inside the gutter or they jump as if they are going to London? Then of course, you will still see that same slurred speech again. The speech will not be clear. It will even be as if they are drooling saliva safe. And then, when we now get to year 1 and we start reading, Ade Wahala starts. Because their eye movements are so slow, you will tell them, read line 1, they've read line 8. You will now be wondering that, is this child playing games? Meanwhile, the child is not playing games. You know what happened? They started on line 1, then they blinked, and their eyes went to line 8, and they continued from there, and their brain honestly said that was where they went.
It happens to even me.
It happens to me all the time.
It happens to even me.
It happens to me all the time. Next slide. So you will notice that these ones, they will try to hold the pencil. They will even try. This one, you even notice that they are trying. They are really trying to grip that pencil. But that handwriting, you will not be able to read it. It's not a course. You will be like chicken scratch. They will honestly try to write, but it's going to be illegible. And then, of course, because of their slow eye movement, when you ask them to copy from the board, problem. And then, of course, when you're reading, like I said earlier, they can skip an entire paragraph. In short, they can skip half the page. And if you don't know better, you would think the child is being mischievous. And you would have beaten the daylight out of that child for just being mischievous. Meanwhile, the child isn't. The child honestly did not know. Alright. So there's another type. These ones, they can't stop moving. They cannot stop moving. They are moving all day, every day. They have involuntary movements. It's not their fault. They are not choosing to move. Their body just continues to move. And so, they are the ones that when you are in preschool, you know those children that like sitting in WCT. Preschool teachers, you know them. It's WCT all the time. No matter how you correct, you will correct them from now to tomorrow. The minute you turn your back like this, they've gone back to their WCT. They are not trying to be mischievous. That's just the only thing that's comfortable. And then if you now say, you know what's now worse? You know you teachers now. You now say, that's not the proper way to sit. Sit properly. Then the involuntary movements will now get worse. Because the child is now using all their brain power to obey you. Yes, now, you said that that's not the way to sit. That's the way their body knows how to sit. But you said that's not the way to sit. So all their brain power is now concentrated on what you have said. And then, because they are trying to concentrate all their brain power on what you say, they will not be able to sit still. You will now say, will you sit still? Wahala. We know. Now you know.